Hi, Brad Samuels here from Foundations. Today I'm making a video about the key ingredients when working with plant medicines. In my previous video I mentioned that I was up in the northern part of Vancouver Island just before Port Hardy. I came out into the wilderness in here for about a week to explore the energy, to do some healing work, spend time on my own, which I never do actually. I think this is the longest period I've ever spent without seeing people. So it's been hard already. I'm on day 4 right now. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of show you how I go through process and basically responsibly come out to do this kind of work. Some of the key ingredients for that. So I'm working with mushrooms right now, and yeah, so preparing to come out to do something like this, I usually take about a month ahead of time. I think I took a little bit less time for this particular trip, but a month. And what I'm doing during that month leading up to it is really preparing myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. The more prep work that I've done leading up to this kind of work, the healthier the state I'm going to be in and the energy I'm going to be in to go into like some of the deeper issues and with more confidence. It all comes down to confidence at the end of the day, because it can be extremely scary, especially when you're working with higher doses. So the more you've taken care of the really simple things like your nutrition, being in good shape physically, being in good standing with your relationships, really the homework I give people when I am going to help them work with plant medicines is to take really good care of yourself and be really nice to yourself. Anything that you haven't dealt with, that's the whole beauty of plant medicines, is it brings out those parts of you that you need to deal with. So some people call it a bad trip. It's really just you having to deal with your life, because it brings everything to the forefront, and you can't escape it. You have to deal with it right up front, and that's what makes it so powerful, but it's also what makes it so intimidating. So for that month leading up, like I mentioned, I really take care of myself as much as possible, physically getting into shape, feeling very healthy, making sure I'm really feeding my body really good food, because if I'm not, I'm going to find out pretty quick when I go into a plant medicine journey and I'm on my own and there's no distractions. That's really why I'm out here, is because there's no distractions. I'm meditating in the dark generally. All I have is the sound of the nature all around me, which is tremendously beautiful, but when there's no one else around to distract you and there's no visual stimuli to distract you, you really do have to deal with those inner parts of you, which is what it's all about. It's all about that inner deep dive, that inner discovery, because that's the world inside of you. That's the universe inside of you, which unfolds into the external world when you actually go out into the world. It's really just a reflection of the way you perceive reality based on the work you've done internally. So when I do come out to these ceremonies, I usually have a specific intention for each and every ceremony. My first night out here was transformation. I think I mentioned in my previous video. Tonight, my intention is unity. So I really am going to go out to my spot on the river there, where I've set up a little circle for meditation, and I really want to just blend into the deep, interconnected, deep energy that makes everything work, and really become a part of the world around me, because that's really what we are. It's a deep, interconnected, interdependent network or organism. That's what the world is, and that's what you are. And I want to go out and really get into relationship with that, and I look forward to it, and hopefully that will be what comes about. Second ingredient is really having the courage to even do these kinds of things at all, because, like I said, it can be very scary, especially when you run into a challenging experience, I like to call it, as opposed to a bad experience. And then, with that being said, you have your intention, but once you actually start ceremony, this is everything. It's a deep surrender. So you can't control this stuff, and if you try is when you really lead into trouble, because you're trying to resist what is happening. And you ultimately just have to let the medicine do what it does. So you have to surrender to whatever it wants to teach you and whatever's going on in the experience, regardless of what your intention was. I find in my experience, my intentions are always realized at some point or another, whether it's right up front, being realized in the moment, which sometimes happens, but many times, maybe half the time, I don't know, but sometimes the lesson comes much later on, and the actual process you're in, that's not what it feels like. It feels like it's definitely not giving you your intention at all, and that's when you start to resist it and saying, this is not what I want. But you really do have to surrender and just let it do what it wants. One way I like to look at it when I'm in a ceremony is I try and look at my own experience as if I'm watching a movie. Instead of judging the movie as this is a good thing, this is a bad experience, what makes a good movie is when the character has ups and downs, and you know, it wouldn't be a good movie if the character just did really well and then he continued doing well and then he lived happily ever after. That would be a really boring movie. So if you can kind of take that perspective of, you know, what makes a good movie is that the character has challenges, then he overcomes them, then things change, and you know, it keeps on changing throughout the movie. That's what keeps it exciting. I like to take that kind of a perspective on my own journey and look at my own experience as if I'm watching the story of a character, which I am, really. So when I run into these bad experiences, I just observe the challenge going on and try not to label it and judge it as a bad thing. Just be present with it, and that's a lot of where the healing comes in, because it's much harder when you resist it, to be honest. So going with it and just being present with those different experiences and those different feelings and emotions, which might be uncomfortable, but that is what makes the experience powerful, is when you can be present with the full depth of the experience, the duality of the experience. I'll talk a little bit more about like the duality of life in another video, but deep surrender is just the key. Once you actually start ceremony, that is the key ingredient, is just be present with whatever comes up and try not to judge it and try not to run away from it. So those are kind of the key ingredients. So leading up, take a month or as long as you can to really take care of yourself. Deep intention, have the courage, which is just, you need courage, and then deep surrender once you actually enter ceremony. Here's my little altar, and here's I'll do another video as well on this is my dream van behind me that I built in October 2018. Yeah, I had a vision, and I'll tell you about it another time, but I start ceremony, I have my own little altar, or my mesa, and I have some sage, and I kind of smudge the area. It's got a beautiful smell, and it's kind of supposed to be a protective plant. And even if you just think it is, it makes you feel safer, to be honest. I've got my diffuser, got some crystals, and then I always have my Buddha with me. The Buddha, he teaches me a lot because he just sits in stillness all the time. Don't you, Buddha? Yeah, Buddha just sits all the time in peace, even when there's chaos going around him. And then I've got my four rocks. I've got the love rock. On the side of the love rock sits in front of Buddha. On the side of love rock, I've got peace, wisdom, and then I call it the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper to peace, love, and wisdom is forgiveness, which I'll do another video on that another time, but forgiveness is the gatekeeper. So I start my ceremonies by coming up in front, meditating on my intention, summoning some of the courage that I'm going to need. Whoa! And then I forgive myself. I forgive anyone I want to forgive. And then I just really sit for a moment with Buddha in a state of love for myself, for others, for nature, for the planet, and for my mission statement. And then kind of go down, and I drink, and then I go sit. And I sit for probably 2 or 3 hours. So that I can really get into that experience and let any of the lessons come out. And then nearing the end of the ceremony, I like to, personally, this is my best investment of the year. It's a sound box. It's the best portable stereo you can pretty much get on the market. I'll dance usually to end my ceremony and just shake everything out and just party. And then if I still have some energy at the end of the night, I'll journal, and I'll try and record it once I can actually write again, and record the experience as best as I can, or I'll do that in the morning. So yeah, that is that's how I prepare for plant medicine journeys. be safe out there. It all comes down to safety, confidence, and it's always good to let somebody else know if you are doing this kind of stuff. Let them know, like a close friend, to be on call, so that you can reach out to them. That's usually what I do. In this case, I can't because I'm out of service, but I've done this enough times that I'm quite confident and I know how to take care of myself at this point. Feel free to reach out to me even if you are looking to do this kind of work and you want some guidance or you want someone to be on call for you. Have fun out there, be safe, and never stop exploring. Love you. Take care.